Let's get into the League Cup then. Despite that convincing win over Man City, we were still underdogs going into the semi-final against Newcastle. It ended with the 1-0 defeat. We're still in the tie going into Tuesday's second leg. Glenn, we put up a good fight, but it seemed to be, for me, the same old problems coming back to haunt us.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first half, it was unbelievable that we weren't behind. You know, we got away with Glen putting the ball in the net, and it hit his arm. Apparently, it's one of those ones you watch on the replay and you think, did it really? You know, you're obviously glad it missed.
There's one angle that did show it.
Right.
The angle from behind the chapel end, I think you could see it reasonably clearly.
Yeah.
But TV didn't show it very often. They only showed that replay once.
Yeah. Well, I get it. That was up our end, and the referee sort of gave it. You know, he seemed very certain. So I kind of switched off at that point. I thought, well, that's, you know, there must have been something, either a foul or a handball. So we got away with that. We got away with other stuff in the first half where, as I highlighted earlier, the defence on the left-hand side was all over the place. Either Salisu or Orsic over there, and Almiron had a field day. So the first half, Chileta got booked because he got pulled out of the middle to try and cover the left-hand side, and he absolutely mullered him. I mean, it was a yellow and a half, that one. It looked bad, and you know, on another day, I wouldn't have been surprised if that had been a red card on his own, because he took him out of full pelt, nowhere near the ball. And of course, Newcastle, they got some real rats in their team who are all round the referee.
Straight around the ref, like Villa.
Yeah, and it's always the players who are not very good, like Sean Longstaff, you know, compared to the other players they've got. It's almost like they say, well, you can't play football very well, so we'll make you the one who gets around the referee.
It's one thing that Eddie Howe's taken from his time at Bournemouth is how to do all the dark arts and stuff and get away with it all the time. It's infuriating.
So we got away with Willock had a couple over the bar, didn't he? And that Joelinton, Joelinton had that joke of a miss in the second half where he just side foot it over an empty goal, and then but we're at 0-0 and we have the glorious chance. I mean, that was pass of the season from Alcaraz to put Adams through, and it's just one of those time stands still, and you see it's Adams, you know he's going to miss, he knows he's going to miss, and he missed, and and with someone who was decent in that scenario, we're 1-0 up and the whole game changes. But 5 minutes later, we have another mess on the left hand side where it's Edozie over there now, and he gets caught out, and that's where the goal came from, because Chileta again got pulled out of the middle, got absolutely skinned, and then that's where the goal happened. What do we have then? Oh, the red card, of course, where he had to do something.
No complaints about that.
That's a good foul. That foul, good yellow.
Doing that kept us in it, because if we lose 2-0, we're dead, completely dead. It's not even worth going up there. but to only get beat 1-0 and to sort of close it out and still only be 1-0 down means that we've got a chance, but we obviously got to go out there and score twice. Because there's no way we're going 120 minutes without letting a goal in. So, we've got to go out there with some sort of game plan to put them under some sort of pressure. But it could have been worse, but it obviously could have been better. And we're still in the game, which I think is certainly when the red card, or when we go 1-0 down, to still be in the game, I think is all you can really ask for.
Is that what you made of the game, Steve? Are we lucky just to be the one goal down heading into Tuesday?
Well, I mean, both sides missed a hatful of presentable chances.
They weren't great, were they?
No, I mean, given Newcastle's really tight defence, for us to have created that many clear chances, kind of must be doing something right, I suppose. It's just frustrating that the ball's not falling for us. Pope made a really good save from that Adams sort of hook shot. On the turn, I don't think Adams could have done an awful lot more with that, really. The one where he's clean through, I do wonder whether that we had that virus with the pitch at the start of the season.
Yes,
causing all kinds of problems with it just looking an absolute state. I do wonder whether that's still an issue, because you look like I don't know if it's noticeable in the ground, but certainly on TV, it looks really bare. and looks really dry, and you can always see so many of our passes seem. I don't know whether that's because we're just rubbish at passing, or whether the passes are they're just looking under hit because the pitch is having an impact.
His
and
first touch wasn't great, though, to be fair,
no,
was
it wasn't. But then part of the problem seemed to be that he kind of got ahead of the ball, and as a result, he's kind of having to contort himself a little bit to hit the shot early. Whereas ideally, he'd probably had enough time for another touch.
Yeah.
If the ball was actually in front of him properly. So I wonder whether the pitch is kind of holding it up a little bit, and there's kind of a slight sort of excuse to be made for players in that situation. But
is it every other team's pitch as well?
Well, yeah.
We'll add it to the list at the moment. We'll add it to the list. Alfie, another 1-0. It's fine margins again, but it's these fine margins that always seem to be going against us.
Yeah, it is, and we've said that a number of times this season. But I felt the only thing that I thought was really quite strange about the performance that was expected of them was, as Glen's alluded to, the whole left-hand side of the pitch. I just thought that was a little bit weird. You could see that it wasn't working, and I probably would have changed that. I think if that had been had that been changed, you don't know what the difference would be. I mean, everyone said that Salisu played really well at left back, and I think he played really well for what I would expect of him. But I think Almiron must have rinsed him every single time he got the ball. Every single time he got the ball. And
it was just handy that Almiron had absolutely no end product.
Yeah, well, when you put the ball across for Jolinton to miss an open goal, and then someone did the same thing and then put the ball across for a goal. So I think that was a bit of a warning sign. But other than that, they did well. It was pretty decent to hold on. I think Nathan Jones came out and said yesterday after the game, completely unprompted, by the way, nobody even mentioned anything to do with it. I think he said the fans wanted me to go for a goal and get it to 1-1 with 10 versus 11, but I had to put my pride aside and keep us in the tie. I don't know why he said it, but he is right.
Why do either Steve or Glenn, do any of you get this? I mean, this annoyed me as well yesterday. It's like how
small man syndrome.
How do you always have to turn it around and have a look? Maybe we just wanted to see a goal. It could just be as simple as that. But
I think he is right. Like Glenn's alluded to it as well. If you go up to Newcastle 2-0 down, there's absolutely no point. There's no point. You've wasted everybody's time. Anybody who spent 250 quid on a train ticket is furious. To got there with one goal, you keep it at 1-0 somehow by a miracle, 120 minutes. You bring Willie Caballero on and you're guaranteed a penalty shootout win. So
that's how we're going to do it.
And ultimately, let's also sort of cover the disallowed equaliser, where Armstrong's just really unlucky there. It's by the law, it's a handball and it's got to be given and no problem, because it's more or less similar to what Joe Linton did in the first half. But he's just really unlucky because he's kind of falling over and the ball's just hit him.
Yeah.
And actually, if the ball comes off his arm and the defender puts it in, actually that goal gets given because it's not deliberate and he's not the one that scored the goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it's like literally inches from that goal being awarded.
Well, so if he doesn't play an air shot in the first place, we don't have to worry about it.
True.
Yeah, and that was the frustrating thing for me because again that happened in a blur, again right in front of me, and I had the right glasses on this time, and I couldn't see a handball in real time at all. I just thought it was an own goal. I just thought it was. Dan Byrne, I think it was, ended up on the deck, and because one of our players ran past and sort of rubbed his head, which was a sort of lovely condescending thing to do, and then it gets disallowed. So yeah, at the time it was frustrating, but when I saw it later, you kind of, at the end of the day, it's his hand that's put the ball in the net, even though he totally didn't mean it. So it is unlucky, but I haven't seen it. I can see why it got disallowed. But
how have we had two of those goals this season? How has that happened twice? Che Adams and Adam Armstrong both handing it into the back
the air shots and then punching it in. Yeah. What should have been? I want to talk about the positives. One of the highlights for me was the Newcastle fan wasting his flair on that first goal, which got ruled out for VAR. Then he didn't have another one when they actually scored. Glenn, do you want to go with Alcaraz? Because I thought he looked really good, actually.
Yeah. I thought
new signings that can come in and add something to the team straight away. Of the two that started, he looked brilliant to me.
Yeah, he's definitely got something about him, hasn't he? What I liked about him is that he was always looking to go forward. He seemed to, as is Nathan Jones's want, he seems to sort of like tactically change things all the time. So he started off as a number 6 next to Diallo, and then he sort of like came forward into the number 8 role. He looks comfortable anywhere. that he played in that game. Always looking to pass the ball forward, and if you make runs, he will find you. It seems to be that's his game. He was happy to get stuck in. He got a rather silly booking for pulling back Bruno, which kind of stopped him defending quite how he was in the first half. But no, I thought he was excellent, and he's another one that's got a bit of devil about him, like all Argentinian players seem to have. He's he's going to get stuck in, and he's going to get in the face of opponents. So I can see why he's going to be someone that Jones is going to pick in the league as well. And if he can carry on having that sort of performance, then he's going to be a very important player going forward, and he will certainly give us something a bit more in midfield, and then it'll take some of the load off of James Ward-Prowse. So overall, I thought he had an excellent game. He played the whole game, didn't he? Didn't he play the whole 90?
Yes.
So straight off the plane, really, there's not an issue with fitness there, and he's going to have a big game on Tuesday. He's obviously going to play. He didn't play against Blackpool, so looking forward to seeing him play again.
We might need another one in as well. Steve, just on Diallo, I thought he had a good game. Seemed to be everywhere. Defensively, pretty decent. Just maybe that final ball was lacking at times. The midfield looked pretty good on Tuesday night.
Yeah, we were decent through the middle. I mean, partly because I think Newcastle seemed to kind of decide that they were just going to go down the flanks, come what may. So we kind of had the run of things in the centre of the park. But I mean, Sean Longstaff is clearly their massively obvious sort of big pointing neon sign. This is your weak link. This is your weak link here. I mean, given all the players that they've got in all their other positions, I find it absolutely incredible that he's getting games in this team. And yeah, we tore him to shreds, didn't we? For the vast majority of that, Diallo was good, and it was in I think a lot of us kind of felt that back end of last season he kind of showed that he wasn't the guy to play the holding role. But actually, in certain circumstances, especially where you've got someone who's as good on the ball as Alcaraz very clearly is, when you've got someone like him in front of you, then actually someone like Diallo, who's really good at reading the game, he's good at those little sort of toe-in interceptions, and then just offload it immediately, usually to the side. But he can play those little passes through tiny little spaces. It's kind of the longer range stuff where he struggles, I think. But yeah, I thought he was very good there, and if he can keep that level of performance up, then us actually having some competition for places in the centre midfield is going to be a very strange feeling, isn't it?
We've come a long way, yeah.
It was a little bit of hyperbole, but I think Nathan Jones actually spoke about Diallo on Friday when we spoke to him before the game. Sorry to cut you off, Martin, but he said that if you combined Ibrahim Diallo's off the ball work with Romeo Lavia's on the ball work, he'd have one of the best midfielders in the world. So
maybe we need to start some sort of lab. Like the Rocky Horror Show. The only other thing that still makes me really, really nervous is these split centre backs and playing out from the goalkeeper. There was, because we were in the Northern for this one, and there was a couple of times where he just knocked it to Lianco, and then Lianco plays it into midfield, and that's where it all goes wrong. That just makes me really nervous. I don't know if they were doing it at all yesterday, but I can see us getting caught out on that sooner rather than later. That just was a thing that really massively worried me.